Most of the Agile practitioners I meet will readily declare a willingness, a desire to make the community better, to make the practice better, maybe even to make the world better. Oh yeah? You want to test that? That's this week on the Badass Agile podcast. Greetings, team. Welcome to the Badass Agile podcast. I'm your host, Chris Williams. My friend, thank you for listening. I'm happy to see you. This week, I want to elaborate my position on social media, what's happening, and what I think as leaders we're called to do about it. But first, let's take a moment to remember why we're here. To create an elite tribe of leaders who truly serve their clients and communities by doing what matters and what works, relentlessly chasing value and excellence like a badass. There's so many resources out there about what you need to do to be agile, but we're focused on who you need to become in order to lead teams. So let's hammer down those fundamentals to create a truly unique and powerful force in this industry. Remember, if this helps you, please share this episode with your friends. And don't forget, the newest cohort of the Badass Agile Forge is taking on new applicants. The links that you need are in the show notes below, or you can just go to badassagile.com to find out more. Okay, look, I spoke just a few weeks ago about social media, its current state, what's good, what's bad, but I think it's time to up the stakes a little. I believe that as people who are constantly preaching that we should be making the world of work better, that we should be more humane, that we should be more empathetic, we have a duty to push back on some of the very negative aspects of social media. And I'll be blunt, and I'll say it again, if you didn't listen to the last one, it's a disgrace in its current state. It was bad enough when social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, but let's not forget LinkedIn, which also qualifies as social media. It was bad enough when this stuff was insular, where it created echo chambers of people saying and believing the same thing, and an algorithm that supports those desires and those tastes in order to keep you watching and keep you riveted. But now, every time you open an article, whether it's a piece of news or whether it's a contribution by a community member, the responses are almost immediately demeaning, insulting, and polarizing. It's gotten to the point where it's not a question of if it'll happen, but when. In fact, I've noticed that the algorithm, especially on LinkedIn and Instagram, tend to put the most negative comments first, which means our eyes, our minds, and our emotions are being directed towards the immediately negative, the hostile, the hatred. This world is in crisis. Look around, read the news. And if we expect to participate in our own rescue, we have to start where we can and do what we can, at least to control what's controllable. And at a minimum, bare minimum, this means not succumbing to the status quo, the default behavior, the thing that the big money makers want you to do. We're supposed to be leaders. We pride ourselves, we advertise ourselves on our empathy, our psychological safety, our openness, our open-mindedness, our agility, our ability to learn and grow. But in reality, the types of conversations that are happening right now are hateful and divisive. And remember, what happens in society is mirrored by social media. It's a reflection of what's current, what's worrisome, what's trending. Now, you can't avoid or change social media, but you can react differently to it. In the extreme case, you could completely ignore it, uninstall it, take it off your phone. But however we choose to respond to it, you can make yourself immune to the hatred and commit to not making it worse. Look, you see something you don't like on social media. What stops you from just letting it go? Why do you have to put a wedge into the divide and make it worse, make it more painful? There's a saying that the warrior is always the last to draw the lance. And what I see on social media, the people who are making all these comments, trying to prove others wrong, insulting their character, these people aren't warriors. I expect leaders to hear this call. You might think you have no control, but you do. Social media depends on your eyeballs on the app, your engagement with the system and the others on it. Most importantly, your eyeballs on the paid advertising. If what they have designed and how they've engineered it stops working, things will change. It starts with you. First thing to do is resist the temptation to respond to almost anything. Somebody comments on your post? Great. Somebody disagrees with you? Great. Somebody calls you nasty names, insults your intelligence, questions your commitment, your motives, your passion? Great. Leave it alone. Why do you have to prove them wrong? Are you really a leader? If so, leaders don't respond emotionally to attacks. Leaders don't buy in to someone else's negativity. Most importantly, leaders don't follow bad behavior. When you respond, they win. They're leading you. They're dictating your next step. They're taunting you, they're tempting you, they're testing you, and you failed. Now, if you must respond to people who are curious, sincere, people who need help, people who are looking for growth, who are looking to understand. But eventually, I've reached the point where I stop reading the comments for the most part. The truth is this: there are thousands of posts every hour. There can't possibly be value in every discussion, in every argument. And remember, the algorithm, I'm talking specifically about LinkedIn here anyway, that the algorithm doesn't present you the things that you most need. It rewards people who are most engaged, those people who succumb to the addiction, who click and respond and engage and share. And remember, controversy and violence attracts eyeballs. So you're not being shown what matters. You're being shown what sells, what ensnares and addicts. Even if every post available to you was clean and virtuous and shown to you in descending order of date posted, there can't possibly be value in every discussion, every argument. How much time do you need to spend reading about Agile as opposed to doing Agile? If you try shutting it all off for a week, you'll find that you come out no different as a practitioner. All the things that you read, what were you doing with that information anyway? Were you archiving it, clipping it, acting upon it, researching it, studying it, going back through it, trying to connect the dots to create a new strategy or a new approach or a new mindset that really helped you? Chances are, not very often. So the point is, eventually you start realizing, if I stop reading and if I stop posting, nothing terribly bad happens. Now, you might think that your business, if you're an independent coach or a consultant or an entrepreneur of some kind, depends on social media. And you could be right. I personally believe in the power of circulation, not just broadcasting. Circulation to me means one-to-one touch. It means sending an email. It means making a call to someone you know or someone you don't. It means knocking on a door, having a human conversation that goes in both directions, because nothing is more essential than knowing your customer, knowing your audience, knowing your team. And you can't know that by broadcasting outward. The anonymous and critical, the even hateful commentary that comes back isn't useful. So I prefer to make those one-on-one connections. And that's what I use LinkedIn for. So when it comes to social media, be a contributor, but don't be a consumer. Or if you're going to be a consumer, use it for what it's actually valuable for. In this case, making the connections, having a vehicle to find people who work for the companies that you really want to work with, for seeing where your friends and your connections are moving from and to, so that you can maintain the relationship. But as for the rest of it, I've largely stopped. And the reason why I've stopped is that I don't want to reward the hatefulness, the division, the anger, and the negativity that social media feeds. So what about you? What will your stand be? What will your contribution be? Will you refuse to engage? Will you decline to spark controversy? Will you avoid taking sides, building fences, building walls, and throwing arrows and spears? This is not the best of our humanity, a long way from it. But what's required is for someone to take a stand, and without advertising your goodness or your virtue, simply choosing not to be a part of it. Even if you go on LinkedIn and try and break up a fight in the comment threads, you're just going to start a different fight. But if you leave it alone, if you choose not to make it worse, eventually, over time, it makes a difference. If one of us could do this today, put down the keyboard, my friend, and then slowly over time, teach and inspire others to do the same, could we change the world? Yes, we could. This is our duty. You only live once. You only have one shot to make your contribution. Will you contribute in ways that the big media companies want you to? Will you pour gas on the fire, all in the name of increasing profits, none of which go to you, by the way? Or will you represent the best of humanity, the best of our industry, the best of our profession? Something to think about. I'd tell you to leave a comment and tell me what you think, but these days I probably won't read them anyway. Better to reach out at badassagile.com. My email's in the show notes below as well. Remember, if you desire to be a leader of courage and vision, consider joining us for The Forge, 1 year of smashing down bad beliefs, bad training, bad environment to dream big, become your own hero. Or if you're looking to be more effective in your presentations, your podcasts, your speeches, your discussions with your team, conversations with leaders and executives, then you might want to check out Rivet the Room. This is my personal guide on how to move and influence people so that you can make the impact that you really want to make. Everything you need is in the show notes below. I thank you once again for being a listener. I look forward to the next time I see you, and until then, stay badass.